Fact number 1. A shrimp's heart is in its head. Let's talk about shrimp. The ocean's tiny, unassuming crustaceans that you've probably seen chilling in a cocktail glass or sizzling on a skewer. But did you know that a shrimp's heart is located in its head? Yep. Not in the chest, not in the tail. Right there, behind those googly eyes and those twitchy antennae, lies the little ticker that keeps them going. And this isn't some weird metaphor for how emotionally available shrimp are. It's actual anatomy. The shrimp's body is divided into two main parts: the cephalothorax and the abdomen. The cephalothorax is basically nature's way of saying, let's make things confusing, because it merges the head and thorax into one fused chunk. And guess where the heart lives? Right in that mashup zone. Evolution could have picked literally anywhere else, like under the shell near the stomach or somewhere traditional, like most animals. But nope, evolution chose chaos and dropped the heart next to the eyeballs. Imagine having your most vital organ in your skull. Every time you bump your head, you're risking a heart attack. And forget romantic sayings like "I love you with all my heart." For a shrimp, that's basically saying "I love you with my entire forehead." That's a weird love letter. The placement makes zero sense. Or maybe it does. If you're a shrimp, maybe keeping everything in one place is more efficient. Like a marine crustacean version of a studio apartment. You've got your brain, your heart, your stomach, your esophagus, all jammed into the same small space. A very cozy, slightly terrifying cranial Airbnb for internal organs. But that's not even the weirdest part of shrimp biology. These things are already walking contradictions. For one, shrimp don't walk, they swim. But they have tiny creepy legs that they use to crawl when they're not busy floating around like oceanic noodles. And their entire skeleton is on the outside. That exoskeleton is like living in a full body helmet. So let's recap. Their brain is smooshed up with their heart, which is shoved right behind their eyeballs, inside a hard shell, with their stomach crammed into that same space. It's like evolution was playing a game of Tetris and just decided to pile everything into the top corner. And it gets weirder. Shrimp eyes. They can see things humans can't. Some species, like the mantis shrimp, can detect polarized light and see colors we don't even have names for. It's like they're seeing in high-def 4D reality, while the rest of us are squinting at 1998 cable TV. And what's powering this psychedelic visual experience? A heart in the head, right next to the eyes. It's like evolution gave them night vision goggles and a pacemaker in the same box. You'd think something this weird would have been weeded out by natural selection, right? Like some predator would have gone, you've got all your vital organs in your face, I'm gonna chomp that. But shrimp are survivors. They've been doing this head-heart thing for millions of years, and clearly it's working for them. Some shrimp can even regenerate lost limbs. That's right. They're out here losing legs and just casually growing new ones, like it's no big deal. Humans lose a limb, and it's a tragedy. Shrimp, they're like, gimme a week, and they molt, shedding their exoskeletons like old clothes, just tossing them aside and coming out fresh and glossy like a crustacean makeover show. Shrimp, Extreme Molt Edition. Can you imagine if humans molted, just walking around like, ugh, my skin feels tight, better unzip and get a new layer. All of this makes that little heart in the head detail even more absurd. Because now you're imagining this fragile, crucial organ bouncing around inside a bony helmet, while the shrimp is karate kicking its way through life, growing back limbs, and pulling off full body costume changes every few weeks. And then you remember people eat them. A lot. Billions every year. The little heart in the head creatures, scooped up by the bucket load, fried, grilled, chilled on ice, dunked in sauce, and chewed with zero hesitation. No one's thinking, oh wow, I'm eating something with a heart in its skull. But they are. And don't get it twisted, shrimp can be aggressive, especially pistol shrimp. These guys have one massive claw that they snap with such speed it creates a bubble that stuns or kills prey. It's like a gunshot, underwater, powered by a claw. So now we've got shrimp with face hearts who carry biological firearms. So if you ever thought shrimp were delicate or simple, think again. They're alien-level creatures, with built-in armor, punchy limbs, regenerating parts, super sight, and a heart that beats from the brain zone. A living contradiction in every way. Animal fact number 2. Sea cucumbers. breathe through their butts. Yep, you read that right. Sea cucumbers. Those squishy, slow-moving blobs that look like nature's version of a used pool noodle actually breathe through their butts. And no, this isn't some casual fun fact you drop during a beach walk. This is legit marine biology. The sea cucumber's rear end doubles as both an exit and an entrance. Air, water, waste, it all goes through the same hole. Evolution just kind of threw in the towel on conventional anatomy and said, let's just make the butt the hub for everything. Let's break it down. Sea cucumbers don't have lungs. They live on the ocean floor, minding their own business, and to get oxygen, they pump water into their anus. Inside, they've got these special structures called respiratory trees, branches of tissue that extract oxygen from the water that flows in through the backside. So they're literally inhaling with their butts. It's not even a joke. They suck in water, absorb oxygen, and push the rest back out, all through the rear door. Now, pause for a second. Imagine if humans evolved this way. You're just sitting in a meeting, calmly breathing, and your coworker is like, hey, are you inhaling through your pants? That's the sea cucumber's reality. 24/7. It doesn't care what you think. It's out there doing yoga-level deep breathing with its back end like it's the most normal thing in the world. And for them it is. It gets weirder. Not only do sea cucumbers breathe through their butts, they poop from the same place, obviously, but they also sometimes defend themselves from predators by literally ejecting parts of their insides through the butt. Picture this. Something threatens them, and they just launch their internal organs like a slimy, anatomical confetti cannon. A distraction tactic that says, you want me? You gotta get through my guts first. And incredibly, they grow all that stuff back. Because of course they do. They're sea cucumbers. Nothing about them follows the rules. And here's another twist. Some species have developed an interesting relationship with other sea creatures. There's a fish called the pearlfish that lives inside the sea cucumber, where, you guessed it, up the butt. This little guy swims right into the cucumber's anus and takes up residence, sometimes even in pairs, like a cozy, weirdly intimate Airbnb situation. And sea cucumbers, they just let it happen, just vibing, hosting house guests in their backdoor oxygen chamber, like it's totally normal. You've got to wonder how that evolutionary conversation went. Hey, I've got this idea for a new respiratory system. Cool, where do we put it? How about the butt? Perfect, ship it. But honestly, sea cucumbers are kind of the ultimate survivors. They're slow, soft, and kinda dumb looking, but they've been around for hundreds of millions of years. That's longer than dinosaurs. They've outlived extinction events. They're like the jelly bean-shaped underdogs of the ocean, quietly existing, breathing through their booties, flinging organs at enemies, and giving shelter to freeloading fish. And we eat them. Yes, sea cucumbers are considered a delicacy in parts of Asia. People cook them, dry them, stew them, even believe they have medicinal properties. Imagine biting into something that breathes from its butt and ejects intestines like party streamers. That's dedication. That's culinary bravery. The crazy thing is, none of this is exaggerated. Scientists have studied this, documented it, dissected it, written entire papers on it. People have earned degrees talking about sea cucumber butt breathing. That's how seriously weird these creatures are. Even their movement is odd. They don't swim. They sort of lurch along using tiny tube feet on the underside of their bodies. It's like watching a deflated balloon crawl, slowly, awkwardly, and yet somehow, they manage to get around. They find food, survive predators, and even reproduce. Yep, that also happens in the same general zone. It's the all-in-one Swiss Army knife of orifices. So the next time you're marveling at the wonders of nature, remember this. Somewhere at the bottom of the ocean, there's a squishy sausage-shaped creature, breathing deeply through its butt, getting casually intruded by fish, ejecting its own guts like confetti, and still managing to thrive. If that's not a strong contender for the weirdest flex in the animal kingdom, I don't know what is. And evolution, it just sat back and let it happen. Animal fact number 3. Male giraffes drink pee to find a mate. Yep, this isn't one of those, oh, how cute, look at them munching leaves, giraffe facts. We're not here for Disney Channel nature documentaries. We're talking about real, raw, unfiltered, pee-tasting giraffe romance. This is the wild, bizarre, pee-drenched truth about how male giraffes find out if a female is ready to mate. So picture this. You're a male giraffe, lanky, with a neck longer than a vacation work email thread, just minding your business on the savannah. Then you spot her, a tall, graceful female giraffe, legs like stilts, eating leaves like it's a full-time job. But before you make a move, before you even think about flirting, you need to know if she's in estrus, aka her mating window. And how do you figure that out? You step up behind her, you wait for her to pee, then you taste it. No, really. Male giraffes will actively nudge a female until she urinates, and then they'll stick their face right in it and slurp some up, like it's the giraffe version of a wine tasting. They swish it around in their mouths, lift their heads, do this dramatic lip-curling thing called the phlegm response, and just analyze that golden stream like they're sniffing the bouquet of a fine Chardonnay. That's not exaggeration, it's science. The phlegm response is how many animals process pheromones. It involves curling the upper lip, inhaling deeply, and sending the scent molecules to a special organ in the roof of the mouth called the Jacobson's organ. In giraffes, this entire ritual revolves around the taste of urine. That's the bar. That's giraffe Tinder. Swipe up for pee. And the thing is, it works. If the male detects the right hormones in the female's pee, congrats, she's ovulating. Time to get romantic, giraffe style. Which, by the way, isn't exactly elegant either. Giraffe mating involves awkward angles, some questionable balancing acts, and about 3 seconds of action. But hey, they're working with those long legs. Can't blame them. But let's backtrack and just marvel at the fact that one of nature's most majestic-looking animals, the kind that graces postcards, safaris, and children's books, is out here drinking urine as a first step in romance. Imagine if humans did this. You're on a date, things are going well, and your date's like, before we take this further, can you just go ahead and pee in this cup? Instant felony. But in giraffe world, that's foreplay. And this isn't a one-time thing. Male giraffes do this over and over again. It's part of their whole reproductive strategy. No pheromone perfumes, no love songs. Just walk up, wait for the golden stream, taste, analyze, and proceed if the signs are right. Giraffe biologists even track these behaviors. Imagine spending your PhD years writing a thesis titled "The Correlation Between Giraffe Mating and Urine Sampling Techniques." Legendary. And it's not like giraffes are doing this discreetly. They're huge. We're talking about an animal that can be up to 18 feet tall. So when they do their pee-tasting ritual, it's like a crane bending over to sniff a puddle in the middle of the savannah, in front of zebras, in front of tourists, in front of God. And that brings us to this incredible truth about evolution. It doesn't care how weird something seems. If it helps an animal survive or reproduce, it stays. So giraffes sipping on pee to find love, that's just nature doing what nature does best, making things weird, but functional. Because let's be honest, there are easier ways to detect ovulation, but the giraffe went with taste test and never looked back. You've got to give props to the confidence. No shame, no embarrassment, just hello madam. Would you be so kind as to relieve yourself? I'd like to analyze it. And the female, she just goes with it, peeing like it's a handshake. Nature is wild. And the irony, after all that tasting and testing and awkward giraffe intimacy, the males usually just wander off. They don't stick around to raise the calf. Nope. Giraffe parenting is a solo mom gig. The dads are like, cool, thanks for the pee sample and good times. Gotta go lick someone else's now. So next time you see a giraffe and think, wow, what a graceful, peaceful creature, just remember that elegant tower of spots might be on its way to taste test some warm pee, because evolution said, yeah, that's how we're doing things now, and we just live in its world. Animal fact number 4. Kangaroos can't fart properly, and it broke science's brain. Alright, buckle in, because this one's got layers, like onion of weird levels of layers. You've got kangaroos adorable, bouncy, muscular marsupials that look like they're always ready to either cuddle you or put you in a headlock. And somewhere, deep in the annals of scientific confusion, researchers realized something strange. Kangaroos might not fart like other animals. And this simple little curiosity, it sparked a global science frenzy. So here's the thing. Most mammals, humans included, are gassy, not metaphorically. Literally, we eat food, bacteria in our gut breaks it down, and that process creates gas. That gas has two options. You burp it up, or its exit stage back door. But scientists noticed that kangaroos, despite eating super fibrous plant-based diets that should basically turn their intestines into balloon animals, didn't seem to fart, at least, not noticeably. And this was not just a passing curiosity. Oh no, this became a thing, an obsession, a hope. Because if kangaroos were somehow breaking down food in their guts without producing methane, a greenhouse gas that contributes to climate change, then maybe, just maybe, we could copy that. Maybe cows could be less gassy. Maybe our livestock wouldn't be hotboxing the planet one burp at a time. So cue the science panic. Teams of researchers in Australia, where else, began studying kangaroo guts like it was the key to reversing climate change. They examined stomachs, feces, microbial activity, you name it. They built kangaroo fart labs. People got funding, real money, to figure out if kangaroos just didn't pass gas, or if they were silently slipping out eco-friendly toots no one could detect. And for a while, the dream was alive. Early studies said, hey, kangaroos don't seem to emit methane. They've got magical bacteria in their guts. Let's put that bacteria in cows. That was the golden ticket, the holy grail of green farming. People were hyped. Kangaroos became climate heroes. They didn't even know it. They were just hopping around, flexing their tails and kicking people, unaware that their gut gas had made them environmental icons. But then, plot twist, later, more advanced studies came in, and the results were less magical. Turns out, kangaroos do fart, just differently. They still produce gas, just not as much methane as cows. And the reason? It's complicated. Their guts are a bit weird. The bacteria in their stomachs break things down in a different way, using hydrogen instead of producing massive methane clouds. So yeah, they fart, just less stinky, less earth-melting farts. Still, the dream didn't die. Scientists were like, fine, they fart, but it's eco-farts. Let's bottle that. Okay, not literally, but you get the idea. They started experimenting with kangaroo gut microbes. Could they transplant that bacteria into livestock? Could we engineer cow guts to fart like a ruse? The research is still ongoing. To this day, we don't have methane-free cows, but we do know that kangaroo flatulence might be the low-key savior of climate science. And here's where this gets even funnier. People, everyday folks, got wind of this research, pun absolutely intended, and it became a weird trivia obsession. Pub quizzes, Reddit threads, people walking around smugly saying, did you know kangaroos don't fart? Not realizing that technically, yeah, they do. But by that point, the myth had legs, or well, gas. And just to paint a full picture of how far this went, kangaroo poop was analyzed for fart traces. Researchers literally sniffed around kangaroo butts with gas detectors. This is real science, people. Actual degrees, all to figure out if these beefy hoppers were secretly holding in farts like awkward teenagers on a first date. And there's another layer to this too. Kangaroos are weird already. Their whole biology is like a sci-fi blueprint. They're born as jelly beans, crawl up into mom's pouch, attached to a nipple like a USB plug, and just chill there for months. Their legs are spring-loaded pogo sticks. They can't walk backward, and their tails are basically fifth limbs. So it almost makes sense that they'd have some bizarre digestive superpower too. But even without full methane immunity, they've still got the most PR-friendly toots in the animal kingdom. Imagine that being your legacy. You were part of the climate solution because your farts didn't smell. Beautiful, poetic, and honestly, the next time you look at a kangaroo, those big brown eyes, those powerful legs, those baby joeys peeking out of their pouches, just remember, inside that majestic marsupial, is a gut so weird and mysterious that it made the world believe they were fart-free climate warriors. And in a way, they still kind of are. Animal fact number 5. Wombats poop cubes, and no one knows why. Okay, this one is as weird as it sounds. You might be imagining some cube-shaped turds and thinking, nah, there's no way. But yes, it's true. Wombats, those stout, pudgy, teddy bear-looking marsupials from Australia, defecate perfect little poop cubes, literal brown dice. And we're not exaggerating here. These are six-sided, almost geometric little nuggets of weird biology, and the internet has been obsessed with this for years. But let's rewind. Wombats are already kind of odd. They've got backward-facing pouches, so they don't kick dirt into their babies while digging. They have incredibly powerful butts, like armor-plated rumps made of cartilage and muscle, that they use as shields or even weapons. But somehow, what they're most famous for is their square poop, not the claws, not the tunnel building, not the booty of steel. It's the poop. So why would an animal poop cubes? It sounds like something from a fever dream or a rejected Pixar idea. And for a long time, scientists didn't know. Like this was a genuine mystery, because every other animal on the planet has poop that comes out in, well, let's just call it more traditional shapes. Cylinders, blobs, pellets, even splats. But cubes, that's not normal. There are no corners and intestines, or are there? Researchers took this mystery seriously. We're talking dissections, X-rays, mathematical models, full-on poop science. They even got funding to study how these marsupial intestines shape turds into perfect cubes. Imagine pitching that to a grant board. Hi, I'd like $80,000 to study poop geometry in fuzzy animals. And someone said yes. So here's the breakdown. Inside a wombat's gut, something strange happens in the last section of the intestine, like the final stretch, before the poop exits the factory. Their colon has this unique muscular structure that stretches and compresses the poop in very specific patterns. Some parts of the intestine are stretchy, some are stiff, and as the poop dries out while moving through the gut, it's molded, slowly into a cube, like a soft clay being gently pressed from all sides. It's less like squeezing toothpaste, and more like origami, but gross. And they don't just drop one cube and call it a day. A wombat will produce around 80-100 cube poops per night. Yeah, night, because wombats are nocturnal, and apparently very productive while the rest of the world sleeps. Now, here's where it gets even weirder. These little poop cubes aren't just bodily leftovers. They're tools, literal building blocks of communication. Wombats are territorial, and they use their cube poop to mark their turf. They'll stack them on rocks, logs, even other poop piles to say, "This is my turf, back off." And the cube shape, it helps the poop stay put. If it were round, it might roll away. But cubes, they don't move. It's like nature's version of the sticky note. So yes, wombats evolved to make cubed poop on purpose. It's not just a freak accident of biology, it's a tactical territorial power move, which is hilariously amazing. But even with all the studies and diagrams and intestine models, we still don't fully understand the why. Like yes, cube poop stays in place, but why evolve such a complicated digestive process just to create non-rolling poop? Why not just poop on a flatter surface, or pee your boundaries like dogs do? There are so many questions, and nature is just like, cube poop, deal with it. Even engineers got in on the hype. Yep, engineers. They studied wombat guts to learn how to mold soft materials into cubes without cutting them, because until then, cube making in factories required slicing. But wombats, they mold internally. So suddenly, wombat guts became inspiration for manufacturing processes. Like imagine a future where we make soft packaging using tech based on marsupial poop. You'd never look at your bubble wrap the same way again. And if that's not enough, here's a hilarious twist. For decades, people thought this was a myth, like surely no animal poops like a box. But when pictures and videos started circulating, the disbelief turned into obsession. Reddit threads exploded. Late-night hosts made jokes. Museums started displaying wombat poop samples like art. People were trading photos like Pokemon cards. Check out this fresh cube I found on a hiking trail. There's even a viral video where a zookeeper just nonchalantly pulls out a drawer full of dried wombat poop cubes like it's totally normal. This is from Percy. He's one of our best cube producers. Imagine being known for that. And that's the thing. Wombats, cute and cuddly as they are, have become poop celebrities. You walk into a zoo expecting kangaroos and koalas, but you leave talking about cubed feces, and people love it. It's the perfect storm of what the heck science, comedy and animal trivia. So next time you're trying to fall asleep, just imagine deep in the Australian bush, under the stars, a little wombat is waddling around, casually pooping out brown Lego bricks, not rolling, not squishing, not smearing, just stacking nature's version of dice like a tiny fuzzy construction worker marking his turf. And that, my friend, is how a small marsupial, with a big digestive twist, became one of the weirdest, funniest, and most oddly satisfying entries in the entire animal kingdom. Animal fact number 6. The pistol shrimp can snap its claws so fast it creates a shockwave. Alright, we're diving into the tiny but mighty world of the pistol shrimp, or as it's often called, the gun shrimp. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait, a shrimp with a gun? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And you'd be right. It does sound ridiculous, but it's also incredibly true. This little crustacean is equipped with a natural weapon that can snap its claws so fast, it creates a mini shockwave that can stun or even kill prey. No, you didn't misread that. A shockwave from a shrimp. Now let's break this down. The pistol shrimp has a massive claw that's quite a bit bigger than the other one. It's like having an arm that's all muscle and no bones. This claw is the shrimp's weapon of choice. When it goes into attack mode, the shrimp pulls that claw back like a bowstring, and then snap, it shoots the claw forward so fast that it creates a burst of energy. In fact, this snap moves so quickly that it creates a bubble of air, and when that bubble collapses, it releases a shock wave. We're talking about something that can generate temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun, and the shock wave is strong enough to stun or kill small fish, other invertebrates, or even a poor, unsuspecting snail. But wait, how does this even work? Well, imagine a normal snap of your fingers. Fast, right? Now imagine if you could snap your fingers so fast that it creates a small explosion. That's basically what the pistol shrimp does, except on a microscopic scale. When the shrimp snaps its claw, the speed and pressure of the motion create a tiny pocket of gas. This bubble grows rapidly, and then collapses in on itself. When it pops, it makes a loud cracking sound, which is why this shrimp is often called a pistol shrimp, because the noise sounds like a gunshot. The scientific name for this phenomenon is cavitation. The bubble collapsing is the key to the shrimp's power. The temperatures inside that collapsing bubble can reach up to 4,700 degrees Celsius, about 8,500 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hotter than the surface of the sun, my friend. This process is a form of sound energy that transfers into the surrounding water, effectively stunning or immobilizing prey, making it much easier for the shrimp to catch. It's the ultimate 1-2 punch. Create a shockwave, stun your prey, and then feast. It doesn't stop there though. The shrimp's snap is so loud, it can be heard by humans. In fact, it's one of the loudest sounds in the underwater world. The snap can reach 210 decibels, far louder than a jet engine. If you were to measure that in air, it would be comparable to a rock concert played right next to your ear. That's incredibly powerful for such a tiny creature. The sound waves are enough to disrupt sonar equipment, and submarines have even reported interference caused by the pistol shrimp's snap. So yeah, it's not just a quirky underwater sound, it can affect the entire environment around it. And just to make this even crazier, the pistol shrimp doesn't even need to hit its prey directly to make it feel the effects. The shockwave itself can be enough to do damage. Imagine the shrimp is lurking in a coral reef, hidden from view. It spots a fish swimming by and launches an attack. The snap of the claw causes a shockwave that stuns the fish without even making physical contact. That's not just clever hunting, it's using physics to your advantage. Now, as cool as this weapon is, it also comes with some disadvantages. The pistol shrimp isn't the fastest swimmer, so it relies heavily on its ability to ambush prey. It's also incredibly territorial and will fiercely protect its space. Pistol shrimps often live in burrows with other creatures like gobies, with whom they share a symbiotic relationship. The shrimp defends the burrow with its powerful claw, while the goby keeps a lookout for predators. It's like the shrimp's personal security guard. But let's talk about the bigger picture for a second. Why does the pistol shrimp have such a weapon in the first place? It's not like it's hunting for massive prey. It's primarily feasting on small fish, snails, and other invertebrates. But in the cutthroat world of the ocean, where predators are always on the lookout, having a weapon like this gives the shrimp a major advantage. It's all about survival. The shrimp needs that shockwave to stun its prey, break open shells, or scare off potential threats. And in a world where food is scarce, having a tool that can deal damage at the speed of sound is pretty useful. Here's the fun part. While the shrimp's claw is mostly a tool for hunting and self-defense, it's also a source of incredible fascination for scientists. Researchers have studied the mechanics of the pistol shrimp's claw to learn how to design more efficient underwater robots. They've even looked at how cavitation could be used to create cleaner forms of energy. So while the shrimp is using its natural abilities to survive, humans are studying it to improve technology. Nature really is the best inventor. But back to the shrimp itself, can you imagine if a human could snap their fingers and create a shockwave that could knock someone over? That's basically what this shrimp can do. It's a tiny creature, but its strength is off the charts. And to make things even more amazing, the shrimp's claw can perform this incredible feat up to 1,500 times per minute. That's more than twice a second. For the shrimp, it's like a reflex. Snap, snap. In the wild, these snapping shrimps are often found in tropical and subtropical waters. They live in coral reefs, seagrass beds, and mangrove swamps, usually in shallow waters. Despite their small size, about 2 inches long, they're one of the ocean's deadliest weapons. It's not about size or strength, it's about using what you've got to your advantage. And the pistol shrimp, it has one of the most unique weapons in the animal kingdom. If you ever find yourself in a tropical or subtropical area, take a moment to think about what's lurking just beneath the surface of the water. A tiny shrimp, snapping its claw so fast that it can create shock waves, disrupt sonar systems, and leave other creatures wondering what just happened. That's the power of the pistol shrimp, small but mighty, and while you may not see it, you can definitely hear it. So the next time you're walking along the beach and hear something that sounds like a distant gunshot, you'll know exactly what it is. Nature's underwater sniper, the pistol shrimp. And that's just one more example of how something that looks so innocent, an animal as small and unassuming as a shrimp, can be an absolute killing machine. Animal fact number 7. The male seahorse is the one that gets pregnant. Alright, let's dive into the world of seahorses. Those little aquatic creatures that look like something straight out of a fantasy novel. Now, you might think you know everything there is to know about seahorses. They're cute, they look like horses, and they swim upright, right? Well, hold on to your hats, because the most mind-boggling fact about seahorses is that the male, not the female, carries and gives birth to the babies. Yes, you heard that right. In the animal kingdom, seahorses are the only species where the male plays the role of the gestating parent. Now, let's break this down. Seahorses are part of the genus Hippocampus, which, fun fact, is where the name comes from. Hippo, meaning horse, and campos, meaning sea monster in Greek. These fascinating creatures are found in shallow coastal waters around the world, often living among seagrass beds or coral reefs. They have long curved bodies, horse-like heads, and a prehensile tail that allows them to cling to vegetation, making them look like something you'd find in a mermaid's underwater garden. But the real surprise lies in their reproduction process. In the seahorse world, the female's job is to transfer her eggs into a special brood pouch located on the male's abdomen. This pouch is a bit like a mini incubator, and it's here that the male seahorse fertilizes the eggs and then carries them around for weeks. The male seahorse becomes pregnant and nurtures the developing embryos inside him until they're ready to be born. You're probably wondering, how does a male seahorse even get pregnant? Well, it starts with the courtship dance. Seahorses are known for their intricate mating rituals, which often involve the male and female swimming side by side, performing synchronized movements and color changes. The female then deposits her eggs into the male's pouch, where they're fertilized. The pouch acts as a protective environment for the eggs, providing nutrients and oxygen, as well as regulating the salinity and temperature to keep the developing seahorses comfortable. As the pregnancy progresses, the male seahorse's pouch swells up as the embryos grow. It's almost like he's carrying a bag full of tiny babies that are growing inside him. The male will even experience hormonal changes during the pregnancy, making his pouch appear more prominent, and sometimes even changing color. The babies develop fully inside the pouch, where they're nourished by the fluids the male produces. The babies don't feed on the male's blood or anything creepy like that. He just provides a safe space for them to grow. Now, here's where it gets even weirder. When the babies are fully developed and ready to be born, the male goes into labor. Yup, that's right. The male seahorse undergoes a process similar to birth, expelling the tiny seahorses from his pouch. Depending on the species, a male can give birth to anywhere from a handful to several hundred baby seahorses at a time. It's an incredible sight to witness, especially because of how quickly the babies are expelled from the pouch. They are fully formed, miniature versions of their parents, and they immediately begin swimming away to start their own lives in the big wide ocean. But here's the kicker. The male seahorse doesn't provide any parental care after birth. Once the babies are born, they're on their own. They have to find food and shelter, and eventually grow into adult seahorses. In a way, the male's role ends right there. He's just the delivery guy, and that's it. But still, it's a remarkable process. Imagine if humans had a species where the father carried the child for 9 months and then gave birth. It would totally blow our minds, right? So why does this bizarre and unique reproductive system exist? Evolutionary scientists think it's a strategy that benefits both the male and the female. For the male, carrying the eggs means that he can fertilize more eggs without being burdened by carrying them around for long periods of time. The female can also mate with multiple males, giving her more chances to pass on her genes. This reproductive method allows the seahorses to maximize their chances of reproducing successfully in their underwater habitats. The male seahorse's brood pouch is an amazing biological feature that ensures the developing babies are kept in a safe, controlled environment. The pouch functions like an incubator, but it's not just for protection. It's also crucial for the survival of the offspring. The seahorse babies are particularly vulnerable after birth, so having a parent who can carry and protect them in those crucial early stages gives them a better chance at surviving. Interestingly, seahorses are monogamous for the duration of each breeding season. That means that once a pair of seahorses finds each other, they stay together for a while. They'll even dance with each other, swimming in synchronized patterns and changing colors. This behavior is meant to strengthen their bond and ensure that the eggs are safely delivered into the male's pouch. And some seahorse species will even stay together for life, returning to each other season after season to mate and reproduce. In the world of seahorses, the idea of a stay-at-home dad is taken to a whole new level. It's not just about watching the kids, it's about carrying them inside your body, nourishing them, and then giving birth. The seahorse's method of reproduction is truly one of nature's oddities, and it's a reminder of how incredibly diverse life can be. While many species rely on the female to carry the offspring, the seahorse flips that script, giving the male a completely different and very critical role. But what happens to the seahorse after he gives birth? Well, once the male seahorse has expelled his babies, he can mate again. His pouch will gradually empty, and he'll be ready to carry more eggs. There's no break for him. He's always in reproductive mode, ensuring that his species continues to thrive. The whole process is a fascinating example of how evolution has adapted to the needs of the species. And let's not forget how awesome this fact is, because it highlights the diversity of the animal kingdom.
When we think about pregnancy, we often imagine it's a strictly female affair, but seahorses just shattered that stereotype. They've turned pregnancy into a shared experience that involves both parents in totally unique ways. It's a wonder of nature that goes beyond anything we could have ever imagined, and it's just one of the many reasons why seahorses are such a beloved and fascinating species. They're not just pretty creatures to look at, they've got some pretty incredible biology behind them. So the next time you see a seahorse, just remember it's not just an adorable little sea creature. That little guy might be carrying hundreds of babies around in his belly, and when it's time for them to be born, he'll deliver them into the world like a true underwater dad. And let's be honest, that's something we can all appreciate.
Animal fact number 8. Goats have rectangular pupils. Now you might be picturing the typical round pupils you see in most animals, perhaps your own pets or even your own eyes. But the humble goat, that often mischievous and surprisingly agile creature, boasts a rather unusual shape for its pupils. They are rectangular. Take a moment to visualize that. Instead of a circular opening in the center of their eyes, goats have horizontal, oblong pupils, forming a distinct rectangular shape. It's a rather striking visual difference, and it serves a very specific purpose related to how goats perceive their surroundings. Why this peculiar shape? It all comes down to their need for excellent peripheral vision. Goats, being primarily prey animals, need to be constantly vigilant for potential predators. Having rectangular pupils gives them a much wider field of view compared to animals with round pupils. This horizontal orientation allows them to see almost 360 degrees around them without even having to move their heads. They can scan the horizon for any signs of danger with remarkable efficiency. Think of it like having panoramic vision built right into their eyes. While we with our round pupils have a more focused field of view straight ahead, goats can take in a much broader sweep of their environment simultaneously. This is a significant advantage for an animal that spends its time grazing in open or semi-open areas where predators could approach from any direction. The rectangular shape isn't just about the width of the view, it also affects how much light enters the eye. The wide horizontal pupil allows for more light to be gathered from the sides, which can be particularly useful in dim light conditions or for detecting movement in their peripheral vision. It's a fascinating example of how an animal's anatomy is directly shaped by its ecological needs. The goat's rectangular pupils are a testament to the evolutionary pressures of being a prey animal, constantly needing to be aware of potential threats. Have you ever noticed how a goat's eyes seem to have a very calm and almost watchful quality? Perhaps this is partly due to the unique way their rectangular pupils take in the world. They seem to be constantly observing, constantly scanning, taking in a much broader perspective than we do. It's also interesting to consider how this might affect their depth perception, or their ability to focus on objects directly in front of them. While their panoramic vision is excellent, there might be trade-offs in terms of binocular vision, which is crucial for judging distances accurately. However, goats are known for their agility and sure-footedness, so they clearly navigate their environments effectively. The next time you encounter a goat, take a close look at its eyes. You'll see those distinctive rectangular pupils, a subtle yet significant feature that speaks volumes about the goat's life and its place in the food chain. It's a reminder that even seemingly small anatomical details can have profound implications for an animal's survival. So as you settle back and continue to relax, picture the calm, watchful eyes of a goat, those rectangular pupils constantly scanning the horizon. Let the image of this wide-eyed vigilance, coupled with the gentle nature of these animals, create a sense of peaceful awareness in your own mind. It's another little piece of the wonderfully weird tapestry of the animal kingdom, a reminder of the incredible diversity and ingenuity of life on Earth. Animal fact number 9. The kakapo parrot, the flightless bird that's also a night owl. The kakapo, also known as the owl parrot, is a flightless bird from New Zealand. But don't let that fool you. This bird has an incredible quirky history that makes it one of the most interesting and unique creatures in the animal kingdom. And by the way, despite being a parrot, the kakapo is like no other parrot you've ever heard of. First of all, let's talk about the kakapo's lack of flight. Most birds, especially parrots, are known for their ability to fly, but not the kakapo. This bird has short wings and is far too heavy to get off the ground, relying more on its excellent climbing abilities to get around. Think about it. Imagine a bird with such a strong desire to climb, but no need for flight. Instead of soaring through the skies, the kakapo is all about living on the ground, where it spends its time scurrying around, foraging, and climbing trees in its native New Zealand forests. But don't mistake its inability to fly for a lack of strength or agility. The kakapo is a champion climber, and it can scale tall trees with ease, hopping from branch to branch. In fact, this bird's climbing skills are so advanced that it has been known to navigate steep cliff faces and rugged terrain with impressive dexterity. And let's not forget its distinctive round body and its soft, mossy green feathers, which help it blend in perfectly with its surroundings. These adaptations make it incredibly difficult for predators to spot, unless of course they get too close. Which brings us to the next point about this bird. Now, here's where things get even more interesting. The kakapo isn't just flightless, it's also nocturnal, which means it's active at night and spends its days sleeping. But not just any sleep. This bird has some pretty wild behavior when it comes to its nighttime activities. During the night, male kakapos engage in an unusual courtship ritual called a lek. This involves the males creating a booming sound by inflating their chest and calling out loudly to attract females. Imagine that, this big round nocturnal bird, with a booming voice, trying to seduce the ladies with its deep resonant calls. It's like a karaoke contest in the middle of the forest, with each male competing for attention by belting out some loud impressive calls. This spectacle can go on for hours, and it's all part of the kakapo's strategy to attract mates. But here's where the kakapo's survival story takes a dark turn. Before human settlement in New Zealand, the kakapo had no natural predators. It had evolved without the need to fear anything, so it never developed the instinct to flee from danger. This made the kakapo particularly vulnerable. When humans introduced mammals like rats, stoats, and cats to the island, these predators quickly decimated the kakapo population, as the flightless bird had no defense mechanisms to avoid being caught. By the 1990s, the kakapo population had dwindled to the brink of extinction, with fewer than 50 birds remaining in the wild. Conservation efforts were stepped up in a big way, and today, the kakapo population is being carefully managed through a series of breeding programs. Every single kakapo is now monitored and protected, and the birds live on predator-free islands off the coast of New Zealand, where they're kept safe from the threats that once nearly wiped them out. But the kakapo is not out of the woods yet. It remains critically endangered, with only about 200 individuals left in the world. Conservationists have made huge strides in saving the kakapo, but the future of this odd, flightless bird still hangs in the balance. So while it may be cute and quirky, the kakapo's story is also a reminder of the fragility of some species and how much effort is needed to protect them. One of the most fascinating aspects of the kakapo is its incredible life expectancy. Unlike many other birds, which have relatively short lifespans, the kakapo can live to be over 90 years old, making it one of the longest living birds in the world. This gives the kakapo a unique perspective on life. After all, with such a long lifespan, it has plenty of time to hang out, call loudly for a mate, and climb its way around New Zealand's forests. Despite its somewhat odd lifestyle, and the fact that it's not particularly good at escaping danger, the kakapo is a symbol of the resilience of nature and the incredible lengths humans will go to in order to save endangered species. Its comeback story, from near extinction to a slow but steady recovery, is a testament to the power of conservation efforts. So the next time you think of parrots, don't just imagine them as colorful, talkative birds that fly around squawking. Think about the kakapo, the flightless nocturnal parrot that's more about booming calls than squawking, and more about climbing trees than flying through the air. This quirky, unique bird has lived through a dramatic history, and though it may not be the most glamorous bird around, it's certainly one of the most fascinating and resilient. It's a reminder that sometimes the most unexpected creatures can hold some of the most incredible survival stories. Animal fact: Number 10. The immortal jellyfish can live forever. Imagine living forever. It sounds like a fantasy or something straight out of a science fiction novel, right? Well, one animal on this planet can do exactly that. The Turritopsis dohrnii, also known as the immortal jellyfish. This jellyfish has an incredible ability to revert back to its juvenile form after reaching adulthood, essentially cheating death and potentially living forever. Here's how it works. When faced with physical damage, starvation, or other stressful conditions, this jellyfish can undergo a process called transdifferentiation. This is a fancy way of saying that it can transform its cells into a younger version of itself, essentially going back in time and reverting to a polyp at the earliest stage of its life cycle. After this transformation, it can start growing into an adult jellyfish all over again, and the process can repeat indefinitely. To put this in simpler terms, when life gets tough, instead of dying like most organisms, this jellyfish just resets and starts fresh. It's like hitting the reset button on life over and over again. Researchers have observed this incredible feat in the wild, and in laboratory conditions, the jellyfish has been able to escape death by simply regressing back to an earlier form. Now you might be wondering, is this jellyfish actually immortal, or is it just avoiding death? Technically, it's not completely immune to death. Predators, disease, and environmental hazards can still take it out. However, the ability to avoid natural death through this bizarre biological process means it could theoretically live forever if it wasn't taken out by something else. This fact is so mind-blowing that it's completely changed the way scientists think about aging and the limits of life. The immortal jellyfish isn't the only species with extraordinary regenerative abilities, but its ability to reverse aging sets it apart in the animal kingdom. Scientists are studying this creature closely, hoping to uncover secrets that could lead to breakthroughs in human longevity. It's a case of nature's cheat code at its finest, and it's living proof that sometimes nature can come up with solutions to problems that we never even dreamed of. So next time you think about aging, death, and the limitations of life, just remember that there's a jellyfish out there who doesn't know what those words mean. It's living forever, and it's doing it in the most incredible, bizarre way imaginable. Animal fact number 11. Koalas have fingerprints, nearly identical to humans. Let's talk about koalas, those adorable, sleepy eucalyptus addicts that look like living stuffed animals. But here's something that'll keep you up at night. Koalas have fingerprints that are virtually indistinguishable from human fingerprints. That's right, those fuzzy little tree huggers could theoretically frame you for a crime. Forensic scientists have actually noted that koala prints are so similar to human prints that they could potentially contaminate crime scenes. Imagine being the detective who has to figure out if your suspect is a disgruntled postal worker or a marsupial with a grudge. The prints match perfectly, sir, but our suspect also sleeps 22 hours a day and exclusively eats poisonous leaves. I'm conflicted. What's even weirder is that this is a case of convergent evolution. Koalas and humans aren't closely related. We didn't inherit fingerprints from some common ancestor who was really into identity theft. Koalas evolved fingerprints completely independently, because apparently, gripping eucalyptus branches and opening doorknobs require the same technology. And it's not like they need these fingerprints for anything sophisticated. Koalas have one of the smallest brain-to-body ratios of any mammal. Their brains are smooth, literally smooth, with none of those fancy wrinkles that help other animals think. So they've got these high-tech crime scene-ready fingertips attached to a creature whose entire existence is eat, sleep, and occasionally scream like a demon. Oh, and they can't even recognize eucalyptus leaves if you pluck them off the branch and put them on a plate. The same food they've been eating exclusively for millions of years. They don't recognize it unless it's still attached to the tree. So they've got human-level fingerprint security, protecting the equivalent of a brain running Windows 95. It's like nature gave them this incredibly sophisticated biometric system, and then paired it with an operating system that barely functions. Here's the ability to potentially frame humans for crimes, but also you won't recognize food unless it's still growing. Actually, in some ways, koalas are walking contradictions, just like our head-hearted shrimp friends. They've got these complex, unique fingerprints, but brains so simple they'd struggle with a children's puzzle. They look cuddly and sweet, like teddy bears come to life, but they can be surprisingly aggressive when disturbed. Ever heard a koala's full territorial call? It sounds like a chainsaw gargling gravel while falling down stairs. Cute exterior, demon soundtrack. And let's talk about their diet. Eucalyptus leaves are basically poison to most animals. They're toxic, low in nutrients, and high in fiber that's difficult to digest. It's like deciding your entire species is going to survive exclusively on eating slightly poisonous cardboard. Evolutionary genius. More like evolutionary dare gone wrong. But koalas doubled down on this dietary disaster. They developed specialized digestive systems with extra long intestines and special bacteria to break down the toxic compounds. They sleep up to 22 hours a day, partly because their food choice gives them so little energy. Imagine spending your entire life exhausted because you refuse to eat anything but one specific type of toxic leaf. That's commitment to a bad idea. The fingerprints make this whole situation even more absurd. They've got these sophisticated, unique identifiers technology that humans use for high security clearance on animals that spend their lives half asleep, half drugged on eucalyptus oil, clinging to trees, and occasionally getting into screaming matches with other koalas over prime napping branches. And yes, the eucalyptus leaves do have a mild narcotic effect on them. So not only are koalas perpetually exhausted from their terrible dietary choices, they're also slightly high all the time. Imagine having the fingerprint security of a CIA agent, but the lifestyle of a college stoner who never leaves the couch, except to get more munchies. The fingerprints themselves evolved for better grip on tree branches, which makes sense when your entire existence revolves around not falling out of trees while you're in a eucalyptus-induced stupor. But the fact that they developed prints so similar to humans is one of those evolutionary coincidences that makes you wonder if nature has a sense of humor. In fact, koalas are the only non-primate species known to have fingerprints. Not just any fingerprints, but the loopy swirly pattern type that's practically indistinguishable from human prints under forensic examination. Dogs don't have them. Cats don't have them. Even our closest relatives in the animal kingdom, chimps and gorillas, have prints that are distinctly different from human ones. But koalas, they've got prints that could pass a biometric security scan. It's like they're secretly planning to infiltrate human society, but they keep forgetting the plan because they're too busy napping and munching on their toxic leaf stash. Scientists who study these things call it an example of convergent evolution, when unrelated species develop similar traits independently, like how both bats and birds evolved wings separately, or how dolphins and sharks have similar body shapes, despite being mammals and fish respectively. Somewhere along the evolutionary line, koalas' tree gripping needs led them down the same fingerprint path that primates took, resulting in these eerily similar patterns. So next time you're dozing off, just remember, somewhere in Australia, there's a sleepy, slightly high koala with your fingerprints, clinging to a tree, ready to be your criminal doppelganger. Sleep tight. Animal fact number 12. Starfish don't have brains. Let's talk about starfish. Those iconic sea creatures that look like someone took a regular fish, sat on it, and then decided to call it a day. But here's the kicker. Starfish don't have brains. None. Zero. Zilch. They're out here living their best lives, moving around, hunting, digesting food, and reproducing without a single brain cell to their name. That's right. While you're lying awake at 3 a.m. overthinking that awkward thing you said at a party 7 years ago, starfish are cruising along the ocean floor without a single thought in their non-existent minds. Talk about living the dream. Instead of a central brain, starfish have a decentralized nervous system. They've got a nerve ring that surrounds their mouth and sends off neural pathways to each of their arms. It's like if your limbs all made their own decisions independently, but somehow still coordinated enough to function as a single entity. Imagine your left arm deciding it wants a sandwich while your right arm is convinced it's bedtime, and somehow your body still manages to get through the day. and this system apparently works just fine for them. They've been around for about 450 million years. That's right, creatures with absolutely no brains have survived multiple mass extinctions that wiped out 99% of all other species. Meanwhile, humans, with our supposedly superior big brains, have been around for about 300,000 years, and we're already questioning if we're going to make it to the next century. Maybe thinking is overrated? But wait, it gets weirder. Not only do starfish lack brains, but they also don't have blood or hearts. Instead, they use seawater as their circulatory fluid. They pump it through their bodies using tiny tube feet that also help them move around. So they're essentially filtering the ocean through themselves like living mobile Brita filters with arms. And let's talk about those arms, or rays, as the marine biologists insist on calling them. Most species have 5, but some can have up to 40 arms. Can you imagine having 40 limbs to coordinate without a brain? I can barely get my 2 arms and 2 legs to cooperate with a fully functioning brain. And these ocean pancakes are out here managing a small army of appendages with nothing but a nerve ring. Oh, and if a starfish loses an arm, no big deal, it'll just grow another one. Some species can regenerate an entire body from just 1 arm. It's like if you lost a finger, and instead of just growing back a finger, it grew back an entire new you. There'd be 2 of you walking around, and neither one could definitively claim to be the original. It's existential crisis territory. But the starfish doesn't have existential crises because you guessed it. No brain, no philosophical dread. They just keep on keeping on, living their best brainless lives. And their eating habits? Absolutely nightmarish. Starfish are carnivores, and they don't mess around with their prey. When a starfish finds a tasty bivalve like a clam or oyster, it wraps its arms around it, and uses its tube feet to literally pry the shell open. We're talking a force of over 50 times the starfish's body weight. Once it's created even the tiniest gap in the shell, the starfish does something truly horrifying. It pushes its stomach out of its body, inserts it into the gap, and begins digesting its prey alive from the inside out. Yes, you heard that right. Starfish can extrude their stomachs, use them like external digestive sleeping bags, and then slurp them back in when they're done eating. It's like if you unhinged your jaw, removed your entire digestive system, wrapped it around a hamburger, dissolved it into goo, and then stuffed everything back inside your body when you were finished. And they do this without a brain, coordinating the process. It's almost impressive. Almost. It's also the stuff of nightmares if you're a shellfish. Imagine evolving a hard protective shell over millions of years only to have some brainless star-shaped creature come along, pry you open with its dozens of feet, and then liquefy your insides while you're still alive. It's like a horror movie where the monster has no head, but still somehow manages to be the apex predator. Speaking of predators, you might think that without a brain, starfish would be easy pickings for ocean carnivores. But no, many species have developed tough spiny skin that makes them difficult to eat. Some are even covered in venomous spines that can cause serious pain to anything that touches them. So they're brainless and toxic, like that one ex we all have, but don't talk about anymore. And their eyes. Oh yeah, they have those, typically one at the end of each arm, but they're not eyes like ours. They're more like light detecting spots that can sense light and dark but not much else. No brain to process complex visual information after all. It's like having security cameras installed but nobody watching the monitors. The information comes in but there's no security guard on duty to analyze it. The starfish reproduction system is another mind-boggling aspect of their brainless existence. Many species can reproduce sexually or asexually depending on the circumstances. If conditions are tough, they'll just split themselves in half and regenerate the missing parts. Instant cloning without all the ethical debates humans would have about such a process. When they do reproduce sexually, it's through external fertilization. They release eggs and sperm into the water and hope for the best. It's basically aquatic reproductive confetti. No dating, no awkward conversations about commitment, no meeting the parents. Just broadcast your genetic material into the ocean and cross your non-existent fingers. And the resulting larvae don't even look like starfish. They're bilateral,
meaning they have left and right sides, and swim around in the plankton until they decide to metamorphose into the radial adults with 5 or more arms extending from a central disc. It's like if human babies were born as flying squirrels and then transformed into people during puberty. The whole process is coordinated without a brain telling the cells what to do. The starfish's brainless lifestyle has worked so well that they've diversified into about 2,000 species found across all the world's oceans, from tropical reefs to the freezing depths of the Arctic. There are starfish living in the deepest trenches of the ocean, where the pressure would crush a human submarine. There are starfish that glow in the dark. There are tiny starfish the size of a fingernail, and massive ones with arm spans over 3 feet wide. And none of them, not a single one, has ever had a thought. They've never wondered about their purpose in life, or worried about climate change, or contemplated the existence of a higher power. They've never experienced anxiety, or regret, or FOMO. They've never lain awake at night replaying embarrassing memories or wondering if they're on the right career path. Instead, they just exist, responding to stimuli with their nerve net, eating, growing, reproducing, and generally being successful enough as a life form to stick around for hundreds of millions of years. No overthinking, no second guessing, no mental health days needed. Sometimes in our brain-centric view of intelligence, we forget that there are many ways to be a successful organism on this planet. We humans think we're the pinnacle of evolution with our big brains and opposable thumbs, but starfish are out there thriving with no brains at all. They're not worried about student loans or political divisions or whether their Instagram post got enough likes. They're just doing their starfish thing generation after generation. And maybe there's a lesson in that for all of us. Maybe sometimes we're overthinking life. Maybe sometimes we should be a little more starfish, just existing in the moment, responding to our environment, doing what needs to be done without ruminating on the past, or anxiously anticipating the future. Or maybe not. Maybe brains are actually pretty awesome, and we should appreciate having them despite the existential angst things bring us. After all, without brains we wouldn't be able to learn useless animal facts to help us fall asleep. We wouldn't be able to marvel at the weird and wonderful adaptations that other creatures have evolved. We wouldn't be able to appreciate the irony that one of the most iconic and recognizable creatures in the ocean is essentially a stomach with arms that functions perfectly well without any central processing unit. So the next time you're staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m. brain spinning with thoughts you can't shut off, remember the starfish creatures so successful at life that they've survived almost 500 million years without ever having a single thought. And then maybe, just maybe, you can trick your brain into shutting up long enough to fall asleep. Starfish proving that you don't need to be smart to be successful. You just need a strong stomach, the ability to regrow limbs, and absolutely zero capacity for self-doubt. Nature's ultimate Zen masters, floating through life one brainless moment at a time.
Animal fact number 13. Platypuses glow under UV light. Let's talk about platypuses. Those bizarre Australian mammals that look like God was working with spare parts at the end of creation week. I've got this leftover duck bill, some otter feet, a beaver tail, and oh look, venomous ankle spurs. Let's just throw them all together and call it a day. But just when you thought platypuses couldn't get any weirder, scientists discovered in 2020 that they glow blue-green under ultraviolet light. That's right. These already ridiculous animals are secretly disco-ready. Picture this. You're a scientist studying monotremes under UV light. Because, well, I guess that's what scientists do when they're bored during lockdown. You shine your black light on a platypus specimen, and suddenly this animal that already looks like it was designed by a committee is glowing like it's at a 90s rave party. Surprise. Nature's weirdest mammal just got weirder. But why? Why would an animal that spends most of its time in murky water, has its eyes closed while swimming, and is primarily nocturnal need to glow under UV light? Scientists aren't entirely sure, but they think it might be for camouflage, because apparently, looking like a duck-beaver hybrid wasn't enough of a disguise. They also needed to be bioluminescent. The thing is, UV light doesn't penetrate water very well, so this adaptation might be completely useless in their natural habitat. It's like evolving the ability to speak perfect French, but living your entire life in rural Mongolia. Cool party trick, but not exactly practical. And this is just one more bizarre feature on an animal that's already breaking all the rules. Let's review what makes platypuses nature's middle finger to conventional taxonomy. They're mammals that lay eggs. They have bills like ducks, but teeth when they're babies, which they lose as adults. They don't have nipples but instead secrete milk through patches on their skin that their babies just sort of lick off. And the males have venomous spurs on their hind legs that can deliver pain so excruciating it makes grown men cry, and can't be relieved with conventional painkillers. Oh, and they hunt by sensing electrical fields produced by their prey's muscular movements, because normal senses are too mainstream. Their bills contain thousands of electroreceptors that can detect the tiny electrical fields generated when a shrimp twitches its tail. It's like having a built-in metal detector, but instead of finding loose change at the beach, they're finding tasty crayfish in the mud. When European naturalists first encountered platypus specimens in the late 1700s, they thought they were being pranked. British scientist George Shaw, who wrote the first scientific description of the platypus in 1799, literally took scissors to the specimen to check if someone had sewn a duck's bill onto a mammal's body. That's how convinced he was that this couldn't be a real animal. Imagine being so weird that scientists think you're fake news. And the glowing thing, that's new information. For over 200 years, we've been studying these bizarre creatures, and we're still finding out new things about them. What else are they hiding? Secret pouches filled with spare change, the ability to speak Portuguese but only on Tuesdays, a sophisticated understanding of quantum physics.
Eyes.
The UV glow isn't even unique to platypuses among mammals. Wombats and bilbies glow too. Is Australia just full of secretly fluorescent animals? Is this what happens when you isolate a continent for millions of years? The animals develop rave-ready fur. Was there an evolutionary DJ saying, "Drop the beat," in the UV reactive pigments? But let's get back to the other ways platypuses are just completely ridiculous. Their scientific name, Ornithorhynchus anatinus, literally translates to bird snout duck-like, which is possibly the most unimaginative scientific name ever. It's like naming a zebra horse body stripe having. The scientists who named it were clearly still processing their confusion. When platypuses were first brought to England, they were met with such disbelief that the scientific community thought they were elaborate hoaxes created by Asian taxidermists who were known for creating mermaids by sewing monkey torsos to fish bodies. That's right. They were so weird that rational, educated people thought they were the equivalent of jackalopes or Fiji mermaids. And can we talk about their hunting technique for a minute? Platypuses close their eyes, ears and noses underwater, effectively blinding themselves to traditional sensory input, and then wave their bills back and forth to detect electrical signals. It's like playing Marco Polo but giving yourself every possible disadvantage, and then adding a superpower to compensate. Their bills are so sensitive that they can detect the equivalent of 1/50th of a volt. That's like feeling the electrical output of a AA battery from across the room. And once they've located their prey with this sixth sense, they store small rocks in their cheek pouches to help them crush the food since they don't have teeth as adults. They're basically walking around with built-in mortar and pestles in their faces. Let's not forget about their reproductive system, which is just bonkers. Female platypuses have 2 ovaries but only the left one works. They lay leathery eggs like reptiles, but then produce milk like mammals, and not just any milk. Platypus milk contains a protein with antibacterial properties that might help us fight antibiotic-resistant superbugs. That's right. Our best hope against the coming bacteria apocalypse might be found in the sweat milk of a glowing duck beaver. Male platypuses, meanwhile, are among the few venomous mammals in the world. Their ankle spurs can inject venom that causes pain so severe that human victims have reported being incapacitated for weeks. The venom isn't lethal to humans but can kill smaller animals. And here's the kicker. They primarily use this venom not for hunting or defense against predators, but for fighting other male platypuses during mating season. It's like bringing a switchblade to a bar fight over who gets to buy the cute platypus at the end of the counter a drink. And the venom has weird properties too.
It contains over 80 different toxins, including a chemical similar to what's found in lizard venom. It's like the platypus was designed by a committee that couldn't agree on anything. Make it a mammal? No. A bird? How about a reptile? Why not all three? Speaking of their bizarre design, let's talk about their skeleton, which looks like it belongs to 3 different animals in a trench coat pretending to be one creature. They have reptilian features in their hip structure, bird-like features in their shoulder girdle, and mammalian features everywhere else. It's the skeletal equivalent of a buffet where you take a little bit of everything. Their fur is another quirky feature. It's incredibly dense with up to 900 hairs per square millimeter. That's thicker than a sea otter's fur, which is saying this super dense coat helps them stay warm in cold water, and now, apparently, gives them their disco glow under UV light. And let's talk about baby platypuses called puggles, which sounds like a breed of designer dog but is actually the term for a baby platypus. They hatch from eggs about the size of jelly beans, completely blind and hairless, looking like weird little fleshy beans. The mother doesn't have nipples, so the babies just sort of lick milk that seeps out of pores in her skin, not through a defined patch or opening. It just sort of oozes out of specialized sweat glands all over her belly. It's like a dairy version of perspiration. The platypus genome is just as chimeric as its appearance. When scientists sequenced it, they found genes associated with reptiles, birds and mammals all mixed together. It's like someone took the genetic recipe book and just started randomly combining pages from different chapters. Let's see. 1 cup of mammal, 2 tablespoons of bird, a pinch of reptile, and for fun let's add the ability to glow under a light source that doesn't exist in their natural habitat. Their mating rituals are equally strange. The male platypus will round up floating pieces of debris to create a courtship pile that he presents to the female. If she's impressed by his trash collection, she'll mate with him. It's like a reverse version of human dating. Instead of hiding the fact that you're a hoarder until the 3rd date, the male platypus leads with it as his best quality. Once they mate, the female builds a burrow up to 65 feet long, carefully designed with protective chambers and plugs to keep her eggs and eventual puggles safe. She blocks the entrance with wet soil that dries and hardens to form a door that keeps the birthing chamber humid and secure. That's some serious home renovation for an animal that doesn't even understand the concept of UV light yet somehow glows under it. After the female lays her eggs, usually 2 or 3, she curls around them and incubates them for about 10 days. The babies use an egg tooth similar to birds to break out of their shells, and then they stay in the burrow for 3 to 4 months nursing on their mother's skin-secreted milk, all while potentially glowing blue-green under UV light, though I doubt anyone's brought a black light into a platypus nursery to check. And here's a fun fact. Despite being mammals and producing milk, platypuses don't have the genes for casein, the primary protein in the milk of other mammals. Instead, they produce a different concoction that provides their offspring with nutrition. It's like they knew the rules of being a mammal but decided, no, we'll do it our way. The platypus's unique features made it incredibly difficult for taxonomists to classify. They were so confused that some early scientists suggested creating an entirely new class for them. Not just a new species or genus, but a whole new category of animal. That would be like creating a new section of the grocery store just for Pop-Tarts because they don't fit neatly into either the bread or cookie aisles. Platypuses are also one of the few mammals that don't have a stomach. The esophagus connects directly to the intestine. There's no specialized stomach chamber for initial digestion. It's like having a house with no kitchen, just a hallway that leads straight from the front door to the bathroom. Their bills, while looking like they were stolen from a duck, are actually soft and rubbery with that electro-sensing ability we talked about. They use these bills to dig through river bottoms, stirring up insects, larvae, and crustaceans that they scoop up and store in their cheek pouches before coming to the surface to crunch down on their harvest with those cheek-stored grinding stones. It's like having a metal detector, shovel, and rock collection all built into your face. And those electroreceptors, they're so sensitive that platypuses have to filter out the electrical signals from their own muscles when they're hunting, or they'd be constantly detecting themselves. That would be like trying to find your keys while wearing a suit made of keys. Are these my keys? No, that's just my knee. Is this my keys? No, that's my elbow. Their weird features extend to their DNA too. Platypuses have 10 sex chromosomes, humans have 2, X and Y. Platypuses have 5 pairs of them and they form a chain during meiosis. This bizarre system isn't found in any other known animal. It's like they're playing a completely different genetic game than the rest of us. And now apparently they glow under UV light. Because of course they do. At this point I wouldn't be surprised if we discovered that platypuses can also solve quadratic equations or speak fluent Mandarin, but only while underwater. Scientists think this UV fluorescence might be an adaptation to help platypuses see each other in low light, since the bluish glow would stand out against the murky browns and greens of their environment. Or maybe it's just their way of finding each other during underwater rave parties. Follow the glow, bro. The after party is in Sheila's burrow. But seriously, the discovery that platypuses glow under UV light adds to the growing evidence that fluorescence is much more common in mammals than we previously thought. It makes you wonder what else is glowing out there that we just haven't looked at under the right light yet. Maybe we're all secretly glowing in wavelengths we can't perceive. Maybe cats can see us glowing and that's why they stare at empty corners. They're not looking at ghosts, they're looking at your weird human UV patterns. The platypus with all its bizarre features is a reminder that evolution doesn't follow a neat, orderly path. It's messy, opportunistic, and sometimes results in creatures so strange that even trained scientists think they're fake. And yet, despite or perhaps because of their hodgepodge design, platypuses have survived for millions of years. They've outlasted countless other species that probably looked at them and thought, that'll never work. So maybe the lesson here is that being weird isn't a disadvantage. Maybe having a bill and venomous ankles and electro-sensing abilities and the power to glow under UV light is exactly what you need to thrive in this weird world. Maybe instead of questioning why platypuses are so strange, we should be questioning why the rest of us aren't strange enough. Or maybe the lesson is simply that Australia is nature's laboratory for bizarre animal experiments. Let's see, what if we took a regular mammal but made it lay eggs and glow in the dark? And over here, let's make a giant hopping animal with a baby pocket. And in this corner, how about a bear that's not actually a bear but climbs eucalyptus trees and has human fingerprints? Perfect. Whatever the reason, platypuses continue to surprise and confound us. Just when we think we've got them figured out, they reveal another layer of weirdness. And in a world that sometimes seems too predictable, too categorized, too neatly labeled and organized, isn't it refreshing to know that there's a semi-aquatic egg-laying mammal with a duck bill, beaver tail, otter feet, venomous ankle spurs, electroreception abilities, no stomach, and fur that glows under UV light? In the wise words of Dr. Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park, life finds a way, and sometimes that way involves glowing blue and black light like you're at a 90s nightclub, because why not? Evolution is the ultimate yes and improv partner. So the next time you're feeling too normal, too conventional, too much like everyone else, remember the platypus. Nature's reminder that you can break all the rules, mix all the metaphors, combine all the parts that seemingly don't go together, and still not just survive but thrive for millions of years. You can be a mammal with a duck bill that glows under UV light. And that's not just okay, it's extraordinary. And if you're still awake after this ridiculously long explanation about why platypuses glow in the dark, well, maybe you need to hear about how sea cucumbers can liquefy their bodies and regenerate their organs. But that's for another useless animal fact.
Animal fact number 14. Octopuses have 3 hearts. Let's talk about octopuses. Those squishy, 8-armed underwater aliens that are probably smarter than your average reality TV contestant. But did you know that octopuses have not 1, not 2, but 3 hearts? That's right. While you're over here struggling to maintain your one mediocre human heart, octopuses are operating a cardiovascular system that looks like it was designed by someone who really took that backup system concept seriously. 2 of these hearts are dedicated solely to pumping blood through the gills, 1 for each gill. These are called branchial hearts, and their only job is to make sure those gills get enough blood to extract oxygen from the water. It's like having 2 specialized hearts, that do nothing but ensure your lungs are working at peak efficiency. Meanwhile, we humans are over here with one heart trying to handle everything, multitasking like it's working a 9 to 5, while also maintaining a side hustle. The third heart, known as the systemic heart, pumps the oxygen-rich blood from the gills to the rest of the body. This is more like our human heart, except it's getting a major assist from those two other hearts. It's basically the heart equivalent of a manager who has two assistants doing half the work. No wonder it's more efficient. And here's where it gets even weirder. Octopus blood is blue, not metaphorically blue, like aristocratic blue blood, but literally blue, while human blood uses hemoglobin, which contains iron, and turns our blood red. Octopus blood uses hemocyanin, which contains copper instead of iron. When copper binds with oxygen, it turns blue. So these three-hearted creatures are pumping blue blood through their bodies, like they're some kind of underwater royalty. But the triple heart system isn't just for show. It's an evolutionary adaptation that helps octopuses survive in their deep-sea environments, where oxygen can be scarce. Having specialized hearts for the gills ensures maximum oxygen extraction, which is crucial when you're an active predator that needs to move quickly to catch prey or escape from dangers like sharks and eels. And speaking of movement, here's another fun cardiovascular fact about octopuses. Their systemic heart actually stops beating when they swim. That's right, the main heart takes a break during exercise, which is exactly the opposite of what happens in humans. When we exercise, our hearts beat faster. When octopuses jet through the water, their main heart goes, "Nope, I'm out, you guys handle this," and temporarily shuts down. This is part of why octopuses prefer to crawl rather than swim. Swimming is metabolically expensive for them, and they tire quickly. Imagine if every time you went for a jog, your heart decided to take a coffee break. You wouldn't get very far, would you? That's essentially what happens to octopuses when they swim. But this triple heart system is just one of the many bizarre features that make octopuses seem like they came from another planet. Let's not forget that they have 9 brains. Yes, 9. They have a central brain in their head, but they also have smaller brains in each of their 8 arms. Each arm has its own neural network that can make decisions independently from the central brain. It's like each arm is its own semi-autonomous entity. This distributed nervous system means that an octopus arm can solve puzzles, grab food, and navigate obstacles even if it's severed from the body. That's right, cut off an octopus arm, and it will still try to move and grab things for up to an hour. It's the stuff of sci-fi nightmares, but it's completely real. And those arms are covered in suckers, hundreds of them, each of which can taste what it touches. Imagine if every single one of your fingertips was also a tongue. You'd be constantly tasting everything you touched, from your smartphone screen to your car keys, to that slightly sticky subway pole during your morning commute. For octopuses, every surface they touch provides a continuous stream of chemical information. It's like living in a world where everything is lickable, and you're compulsively licking everything all the time. The suckers aren't just sensory organs either. They're powerful enough to lift 35 pounds each. A giant Pacific octopus with thousands of suckers could theoretically lift several tons, though they typically use this strength for more practical purposes like prying open stubborn clamshells, or staying anchored in strong currents. And let's talk about intelligence. Octopuses are scary smart. They can solve complex puzzles, use tools, recognize individual human faces, and even exhibit what appears to be a sense of mischief. They've been known to squirt water at annoying researchers, dismantle equipment in their tanks just because they can, and escape from their enclosures in ways that would make Houdini proud. There are documented cases of octopuses waiting until no one is watching before sneaking out of their tanks, crawling across the floor to raid other tanks for food, and then returning to their own tanks, as if nothing happened. One octopus at a New Zealand aquarium learned to short-circuit the lights above its tank by squirting water at them, plunging the room into darkness whenever it felt like it. Another octopus was caught on camera using coconut shell halves as a mobile shelter, picking them up and carrying them around for later use. The first documented case of tool use in invertebrates. All of this intelligence packed into an animal that typically lives for only 2 years. That's right. Despite their incredible cognitive abilities,
Octopuses have tragically short lifespans. Most species live just long enough to reproduce once and then die. Males often die within a few months after mating, while females stick around just long enough to tend to their eggs before succumbing to programmed death. It's like nature equipped them with these amazing brains and then said, but you only get to use them for about as long as a human toddler spends in diapers. And the way they reproduce is just as bizarre as everything else about them. Male octopuses have a specialized arm called a hectocotylus that they use to transfer sperm packets to the female. In some species, this arm actually breaks off inside the female and continues to wriggle around on its own, fertilizing her eggs while the male goes off to die. It's like if human reproduction involved men detaching a limb, handing it to their partner, and then immediately entering hospice care. Dating would be a very different scene. Female octopuses, meanwhile, lay up to 200,000 eggs, and then spend months obsessively caring for them, cleaning them, aerating them, protecting them from predators, and often not eating at all during this period. By the time the eggs hatch, the mother is usually so depleted that she dies shortly thereafter. Talk about maternal sacrifice. But back to those 3 hearts. The fact that octopuses need 3 hearts to do what our single heart accomplishes says something interesting about evolutionary design. It's not always about elegance or efficiency. Sometimes it's just about what works for a particular environment and lifestyle. Octopuses evolved in the oxygen-poor depths of the ocean, where extracting every molecule of available oxygen became a survival priority. Hence 2 hearts dedicated just to the gills. The blue blood is another adaptation to those same conditions. Hemocyanin is actually less efficient than hemoglobin at transporting oxygen in oxygen-rich environments, but it performs better than hemoglobin in cold, oxygen-poor water. It's like having a specialized vehicle for off-road conditions rather than a general-purpose sedan. Not great for the highway, but perfect for the specific challenging terrain where octopuses live. This multi-heart system also helps explain how octopuses can change color and texture so rapidly. Their chromatophores, the specialized cells that allow them to change color, are controlled by muscles that require a lot of oxygen to operate quickly. Having an efficient oxygen delivery system powered by 3 hearts helps make their unparalleled camouflage abilities possible. And their camouflage is truly mind-blowing. Octopuses can match not just the color but also the texture and pattern of their surroundings in less than a second. They can go from smooth to spiky, from mottled to striped, from brown to bright red, all while moving across different surfaces. And they do this despite being colorblind. That's right, octopuses can't even see the colors they're matching. It would be like painting a perfect replica of the Mona Lisa, while only being able to see in grayscale. Some scientists think they might be able to perceive color directly through their skin, bypassing their eyes altogether. Their skin may contain the same light-sensitive proteins found in their eyes, essentially making their entire body one giant eyeball. So not only do they have 3 hearts and 9 brains, but they might also be seeing with their skin. At this point, it's like they're just showing off. The octopus's 3-heart system is also remarkable for its efficiency. Their blood circulation is closed, meaning it stays within blood vessels instead of washing freely through the body cavity, as it does in many other invertebrates. This allows for more precise control over where the blood goes and how quickly it gets there, which is crucial for an animal that can go from camouflage stillness to jet-propelled escape in an instant. Their blue blood also carries a special anti-germ protein called hemocyanin that helps keep them healthy. This protein doesn't just transport oxygen, it also fights bacteria, which is handy when you live in the bacteria-rich ocean and have soft, easily damaged skin. It's like having an internal antibiotic factory running 24/7. The 2 branchial hearts, besides pumping blood through the gills, also help filter out waste products and return them to the kidneys for processing. They're not just pumps, they're combination pump filters that help keep the octopus's blood clean. Our single human heart doesn't multitask like that. It's strictly a pump, leaving the filtering work to specialized organs like the kidneys and liver. And while we humans get by with a single cardiac muscle, octopuses have different types of heart tissue specialized for different functions. The 2 branchial hearts contain mostly aerobic muscle fibers, which are great for sustained activity, but tire easily. The systemic heart, meanwhile, has a mix of muscle types that allow it to adjust its pumping rate and force depending on the octopus's needs. This adaptability extends to their circulatory system as a whole. Octopuses can reroute blood flow to different parts of their body depending on what they're doing. Need to jet away from a predator? Blood gets diverted to the powerful muscles of the mantle. Working on opening a stubborn clam, extra blood flow to the arms. Digesting a recent meal, blood gets concentrated in the digestive organs. It's like having a smart traffic control system for blood that ensures resources go exactly where they're needed most at any given moment. And those resources often need to travel surprising distances. A giant Pacific octopus can have arms that span up to 20 feet from tip to tip. Getting oxygen-rich blood from the gills all the way to the tip of an arm that long requires some serious pumping power. Hence the need for that third systemic heart. The hearts themselves are located in the octopus's mantle, the bulbous part of their body that houses most of their organs. This central location allows for efficient blood distribution to all 8 arms, which radiate outward like spokes on a wheel. The systemic heart is larger than the 2 branchial hearts and sits between them, receiving oxygen-rich blood from both before pumping it out to the rest of the body. What's particularly impressive is how coordinated these 3 hearts are despite being separate organs. They beat in a synchronized rhythm that ensures optimal blood flow throughout the body. It's like having 3 different drummers who need to stay perfectly in time without being able to see. The neural control required for this synchronization is just one more example of the octopus's remarkable biology. And here's another weird thing about octopus hearts: they're shaped differently than ours. While the human heart is roughly cone-shaped with 4 chambers, octopus hearts are more like muscular sacs with a single chamber. The systemic heart is roughly U-shaped, while the branchial hearts are more spherical. This simpler structure is actually more energy efficient for their needs than our complex 4-chambered pump. The 3-heart system also gives octopuses impressive metabolic flexibility. They can go from nearly dormant while hiding in a crevice to explosive activity when hunting or escaping danger. Their hearts can ramp up quickly to meet sudden oxygen demands, then scale back to conserve energy during quieter periods. It's like having a vehicle that can instantly switch from eco mode to sports mode without missing a beat. This metabolic flexibility helps explain how octopuses can survive in such a wide range of ocean environments, from tropical coral reefs to the frigid depths of the Antarctic. Their 3 hearts adapt to different temperature and oxygen conditions by adjusting their pumping rate and the amount of blood flowing through different parts of the circulatory system. So next time you're feeling special because your single human heart manages to keep you alive, remember that somewhere in the ocean depths, an octopus is cruising along with 3 hearts, 9 brains, blue blood, color-changing skin that might also be able to see, and arms that can taste, think, and solve puzzles independently. And it's doing all this despite having evolved along a completely different evolutionary path from vertebrates like us. Our last common ancestor lived over 500 million years ago. In many ways, octopuses are the closest thing to alien intelligence we've encountered on Earth. Their bizarre biology, including those 3 hearts, reminds us just how diverse life can be, and how many different solutions evolution can find to the same basic problems of survival. Our single heart works for our terrestrial vertebrate lifestyle, but for a soft-bodied predator in the oxygen-poor depths of the ocean, 3 hearts is apparently the way to go. It's also worth noting that this 3-heart system isn't unique to octopuses. All cephalopods, including squids and cuttlefish, have the same basic cardiovascular setup. But octopuses have refined it to an art form with hearts that can adjust their output based on the animal's needs at any given moment. Their hearts can even detect when an arm is regenerating after injury and send extra blood flow to that area to speed healing.
And speaking of healing, octopus blood contains special cells called amoebocytes that rush to injury sites and clot quickly, preventing the blue blood from leaking out. These cells are so efficient that an octopus can seal a wound in minutes. Combined with their remarkable regenerative abilities, they can regrow entire arms complete with nerves, muscles, and those hundreds of suckers. Octopuses are basically the Wolverine of the sea minus the adamantium skeleton and plus 5 extra hearts and brains. So the next time someone calls you heartless, just remember you could be an octopus and have 3 hearts and people would still find something to complain about. Oh sure, you have 3 hearts, but do any of them really care? There's just no winning. But at least now you know somewhere beneath the waves there's a creature with blue blood being pumped by 3 hearts to 8 semi-autonomous arms covered in taste buds, all coordinated by 9 brains that together create one of the strangest and most fascinating animals on our planet. And if that knowledge doesn't help you fall asleep, I don't know what will. Maybe counting swimming octopuses instead of sheep. Just remember to count them in groups of 3 hearts each. Animal fact number 15. A snail can sleep for 3 years. Yes, you heard that correctly. The humble snail, that slow-moving gastropod we often encounter in our gardens, leaving behind its silvery trails, is capable of an extraordinarily long sleep. We're not talking about a brief nap or an extended weekend of rest. We're talking about a hibernation of epic proportions, a slumber that can last for up to 3 whole years. Imagine that for a moment. 3 years of peaceful, uninterrupted rest. That's longer than many of us spend in the same job, longer than most university degrees, and certainly longer than it takes for most television shows to run their course. And the snail, it's just sleeping. Now you might be wondering, how and why would a snail need to sleep for such an extended period? Well, it all comes down to survival. Snails are ectothermic, meaning their body temperature is regulated by their environment. When conditions become harsh, perhaps a prolonged drought with scorching temperatures, or a deep freeze during winter, survival becomes challenging. Food might become scarce, and the risk of dehydration becomes high. To cope with these unfavorable conditions, the snail employs a remarkable strategy. It enters a state of dormancy, a deep sleep-like state that allows it to conserve energy and survive until conditions improve. Before settling in for this extended nap, the snail prepares itself. It retracts its soft body entirely into its shell, that portable fortress it carries everywhere. Then it secretes a thick layer of mucus, a sort of biological door that seals the opening of its shell. This mucus seal, called an epitaphyre, helps to keep moisture inside the shell, preventing the snail from drying out, and also provides a barrier against potential predators. Once safely sealed within its shell, the snail's metabolism slows down dramatically. Its heart rate decreases significantly, its breathing becomes almost imperceptible, and all bodily functions are reduced to a bare minimum. It's as if the snail has pressed the ultimate pause button on its life, waiting patiently for the world outside to become more hospitable. Think about the sheer commitment to this long sleep. It's not like the snail can just wake up after a few weeks and check if the weather has improved. Once it seals itself in, it's in it for the long haul. It's a testament to the power of instinct and the incredible adaptations that animals have developed to survive in a sometimes unforgiving world. Consider the biological processes at play during this extended dormancy. The snail's body must essentially power down to a minimal level, just enough to maintain basic cellular function and prevent degradation. Energy reserves are carefully conserved, like a tiny biological bank account being meticulously managed over years. The breakdown of tissues is minimized, and the snail exists in a state of extreme efficiency. It's a fascinating example of how life can adapt to endure even the most challenging circumstances. What triggers this incredible slowdown at a cellular level? Hormonal changes likely play a crucial role, signaling the body to reduce metabolic activity. The production of certain proteins might be ramped down, while others that help protect cells during stress are increased. It's a complex cascade of biochemical events that allows the snail to enter and maintain this state of suspended animation for such an extended period. And what about the environment within the sealed shell? It becomes a microclimate, a tiny self-regulating world. The snail's own limited respiration will slowly alter the composition of the air inside, but the mucus seal helps to maintain a stable level of humidity, preventing desiccation. It's a testament to the effectiveness of this simple yet ingenious adaptation. Imagine stumbling upon a snail that has been asleep for, say, 2.5 years. It would look like nothing more than an empty shell, perhaps a bit dusty or weathered, maybe even camouflaged by moss or lichen. You might walk right past it, completely unaware of the living creature nestled within. It's a secret world happening right under our feet, a reminder that life often persists in ways we don't even notice.
How do scientists even know that snails can sleep for 3 years? It likely involves careful observation of snails in controlled environments, tracking their activity levels and their ability to survive extended periods of unfavorable conditions while sealed in their shells. It might also involve studying the physiological changes that occur during these periods of dormancy. And what about different species of snails? Do they all have this remarkable ability for extended sleep? While many land snails are known to enter periods of dormancy, the exact duration can vary depending on the species and the severity of the environmental conditions. Some might only sleep for a few weeks or months, while others, like certain desert snails, are particularly well adapted for surviving long periods of drought through extended estivation. Estivation being the term for dormancy during hot, dry periods. Think about the changes the world might have undergone during those 3 years from the snail's perspective, if it were somehow aware. Human events, natural disasters, the slow but constant evolution of the landscape, all would have unfolded while the snail remained in its peaceful slumber. It's a humbling thought, to consider the vastness of time and the different scales at which life operates. When the snail finally decides to wake up, the process is gradual. It needs to rehydrate, its metabolism needs to ramp back up, and it needs to replenish its energy reserves. This awakening might take some time, and the snail might be sluggish and vulnerable in its initial re-emergence. It's like restarting a complex machine after a long period of inactivity. The return of moisture is likely a key trigger for waking. Rain softens the ground, making movement easier, and also provides a source of hydration. The change in temperature might also play a role, signaling the return of more favorable conditions for activity and feeding. Consider the energy expenditure involved in waking up after such a long sleep. The snail needs to break down the mucus seal, rehydrate its tissues, and restart its metabolic processes. It's a significant investment of energy after a long period of conservation. This suggests that the decision to wake up is likely carefully timed to coincide with truly favorable conditions. So as you continue to relax and feel the gentle pull of sleep, let your mind wander to the image of a snail peacefully sleeping through countless days and nights, through changing seasons and the passage of time. Imagine the quiet stillness within its shell, the slow, almost imperceptible rhythm of its life. It's a picture of profound rest and resilience, a soothing image to carry you into your own slumber. And while your sleep tonight will hopefully be much, much shorter than 3 years, may it be just as restorative and peaceful. Let the thought of the long sleeping snail be a gentle lullaby, easing you into a state of calm and tranquility.
Animal fact number 16. Sea otters hold hands while they sleep. Yes, those fuzzy little aquatic butterballs. The ones who look like they're constantly having a good hair day. Even when soaking wet, they hold hands when they snooze. It's like the cutest slumber party imaginable, but instead of awkward pillow talk and questionable snack choices, it's just pure, unadulterated paw-to-paw affection on the high seas. Now we know the practical reason, right? They don't want to wake up and find their best otter buddy has drifted off to some kelp-filled faraway land. Imagine the otter equivalent of that frantic, "Where's my car?" feeling. But instead it's, "Where's Barnaby? Did Barnaby float to Alaska again?" Holding hands is their adorable furry anchor system. It's like they all agreed on the otter version of the buddy system, except way, way cuter. Think about the dynamics of these otter rafts. You've got all sorts in there. The grizzled veterans of many a shellfish-cracking battle. The youngsters still figuring out the best way to juggle 3 sea urchins at once. Maybe even that one slightly awkward otter who always tries to hold flippers instead of paws. And yet, when nap time rolls around, it's all paws in. It's a beautiful, furry, slightly chaotic display of oceanic solidarity. Picture a particularly large raft, maybe a dozen or so otters all snuggled together. It's like a fluffy, brown, buoyant jigsaw puzzle, with each piece determined to stay connected. And in the middle of this furry free-for-all, you've got these little paws, gently clasped together. It's enough to make your heart do a little otter-like flip. Now, what kind of hand-holding are we talking about here? Is it a firm, determined grip, a delicate pinky paw hold, maybe even a full-on intertwined knuckle situation? While we don't have slow-motion underwater footage of their exact paw-holding techniques, someone get on that. National Geographic. You can just imagine the variety. Some otters probably go for the no-nonsense, I'm not letting go grip, while others might be more casual, just a gentle touch to say, yep, still here. And you've got to wonder about the occasional sleepy otter who might accidentally let go. Imagine the little jolt as they realize they're drifting slightly, the frantic little paddle to reconnect, the relieved sigh as they find their buddy's paw again. It's like a tiny furry soap opera playing out on the surface of the ocean, but the real heartwarming stuff comes when you think about mothers and their pups. A mama otter will often cradle her tiny pup on her belly while they both snooze, and you can bet those little baby paws are holding on tight to mom. It's the ultimate picture of safety and love in the wild. It's enough to make you want to call your own mom, or maybe just hug a plush otter. And let's not forget the potential for accidental otter PDA. You know there's got to be that one young slightly smitten otter who uses naptime hand-holding as an excuse to get a little closer to their crush. Picture it, a casual paw graze that lingers just a little too long. The slightly flustered look when they wake up, oh the drama. But beyond the humor and the heartwarming fuzziness, there's a real beauty to this behavior. It's a testament to the power of community and connection in the animal kingdom. These creatures, living in a challenging environment, have found a simple yet profound way to look out for each other, even in their most vulnerable state. So, as you lie there, feeling nice and cozy, imagine yourself floating gently on the waves, the soft sound of the water lapping around you. Picture a group of adorable furry sea otters snuggled together, their little paws linked in peaceful slumber. Let the warmth of their connection fill your mind, and allow the gentle humor and undeniable sweetness of this image to carry you away to a land of fluffy hand-holding dreams. It's a reminder that even the smallest gestures of connection can provide comfort and security, and that sometimes, the best way to face the world is with a friend by your paw. Sweet dreams, and may your sleep be as peaceful and connected as a raft of slumbering sea otters. Now, you might be wondering what else these charismatic marine mammals get up to when they're not forming adorable floating hand-holding circles. Well, buckle up, because the sea otter lifestyle is a fascinating mix of industrious work and carefree play that would make even the most dedicated work-life balance guru jealous. Let's talk about mealtime. Sea otters are the oceanic equivalent of that one friend who always carries a snack in their pocket. Except instead of a pocket, they have a convenient little pouch of loose skin under their armpit. That's right. Sea otters have built-in fanny packs where they store their favorite rocks. And why do they need rocks, you ask? Because sea otters are the only marine mammals known to use tools, and these rocks are their prized possessions. Picture this. An otter floating on its back, a clam or mussel placed carefully on its belly, and then, with all the precision of a skilled blacksmith, it uses its rock to crack open that stubborn shellfish. It's like watching the world's tiniest, furriest craftsman at work. Sometimes, they'll even use rocks to dislodge abalones from rocks or to stun their prey. It's a sophisticated dining technique that they've perfected over generations, making them the original foodies of the marine world. And don't get me started on their metabolic needs. These energetic little creatures need to eat about 25% of their body weight in food every single day. That's like if you decided to eat 30 large pizzas before bedtime every day. Their hyperactive metabolism means they're constantly on the hunt for sea urchins, mollusks, crabs, and the occasional fish. It's an all-you-can-eat buffet lifestyle. But instead of loosening your belt afterward, you just float a little lower in the water. Speaking of that luxurious float, let's talk about the sea otter's fur. It's not just a fashion statement, it's the densest fur in the animal kingdom, with up to 1 million hairs per square inch. For context, that's roughly 100 times more hair than on a human head. This ultra-plush coat serves as their primary insulation since, unlike most marine mammals, sea otters don't have an insulating layer of blubber. Their fur traps air bubbles close to their skin, creating a natural wetsuit that would make any cold water surfer jealous. But with great fur comes great responsibility. Sea otters are perhaps the most fastidious groomers in the animal world, spending hours each day cleaning,
fluffing, and arranging their fur. It's like they're perpetually getting ready for a high-stakes photo shoot. They'll twist and turn in the water, blowing air into their fur, rubbing and scratching to maintain that perfect waterproof fluffiness. It's a full-time job, and they take it seriously. Messy fur means cold otter, and nobody wants that. And while we're on the topic of their appearance, let's appreciate those faces for a moment. With their round, expressive eyes, whiskers that seem to twitch with curiosity, and that perpetually surprised look, sea otters have mastered the art of looking constantly delighted by life. It's as if they've just heard the world's best joke and can't wait to share it. Their expressions range from mildly amused to absolutely thrilled about this shellfish, with very little in between. Then there's the matter of their social structure. While they may gather in those charming rafts for safety and companionship, sea otters maintain a complex social hierarchy. Male sea otters establish territories where they'll court females, with the dominant males claiming the prime real estate. It's like underwater real estate, where the currency is measured in access to the best food sources and protection from predators rather than square footage and granite countertops. Female sea otters, meanwhile, are the epitome of dedicated single motherhood. A mother otter will care for her pup for about 6 months, teaching it everything from swimming they're not born knowing how. Contrary to what you might expect to hunting techniques, she'll groom her pup obsessively, often blowing air into its fur, until it's so buoyant it practically bounces on the water's surface like a furry little cork. And yes, she'll hold her baby's paw while they sleep, creating perhaps the most awe-inducing moment in nature. But don't let all this cuteness fool you. Sea otters are also remarkably resilient creatures. They've been known to use those same rocks they crack shellfish with to fend off predators in a pinch. Their playful antics, the spinning, diving, and apparent joy they take in their watery world, belies a tough spirit that has allowed them to survive in challenging environments. They're the marine equivalent of that friend who seems to be all fun and games but will absolutely have your back in a crisis. And speaking of resilience, we can't talk about sea otters without acknowledging their remarkable comeback story. Once hunted to near extinction for their luxurious fur, with perhaps as few as 1,000–2,000 individuals left worldwide by the early 20th century, sea otters have fought their way back from the brink. Protected now by international agreements, their numbers have rebounded in many areas, though they still face threats from oil spills, pollution, and habitat loss. Their recovery is particularly important because sea otters are a keystone species. They help maintain the health and stability of nearshore marine ecosystems. By controlling sea urchin populations, they prevent these spiny creatures from overgrazing on kelp forests, which serve as crucial habitat for countless marine species. It's like they're the underwater gardeners, ensuring the ocean's forests stay lush and vibrant. Without sea otters, these underwater ecosystems would look drastically different, and many species would struggle to survive. The sound of sea otters is another delightful aspect of their character. When excited or alarmed, they emit a series of high-pitched whistles and cooing noises that sound almost bird-like. Mother otters and their pups communicate constantly, their calls a soothing lullaby across the water's surface. Imagine a midnight raft of otters, their gentle calls mixing with the sound of lapping waves, nature's own meditation soundtrack. Have you ever wondered what happens when a sea otter encounters something new and intriguing in its environment? Their curiosity is boundless. They'll investigate novel objects with the enthusiasm of a toddler on a sugar rush, turning items over in their dexterous paws, examining them from every angle. Researchers have observed them playing with everything from natural objects like kelp fronds to man-made items that unfortunately find their way into their habitat. It's this playful, inquisitive nature that makes watching sea otters endlessly entertaining. One particularly charming habit that sea otters have developed is their use of otter pockets. Besides storing their favorite rock in their armpit pouch, they've been known to wrap food items in kelp to keep them secure while they dive for more. It's like they've invented the world's first biodegradable food storage containers. Efficient, environmentally friendly, and adorable, sea otters were sustainable before it was cool. The relationship between sea otters and kelp forests is truly a love story for the ages. By keeping sea urchin populations in check, otters allow kelp to flourish, creating underwater forests that sequester carbon, reduce coastal erosion, and provide habitat for fish that local communities depend on. It's an elegant demonstration of how one species can have far-reaching positive impacts on both ecosystems and human communities. Let's not forget their swimming skills. Sea otters are powerful swimmers, capable of diving up to 300 feet deep and holding their breath for up to 5 minutes. However, they prefer to spend most of their time in shallower waters, where food is abundant and the living is easy. Their swimming style is distinctive, a combination of paddling with their webbed hind feet and ruddering with their tail. On the surface, they often swim on their backs, their belly becoming a convenient dining table for enjoying their latest catch. When it comes to resting, sea otters have elevated the concept of floating through life to an art form. They can sleep deeply while bobbing on the ocean's surface, their bodies gently rising and falling with each wave. During particularly relaxing naps, they might even cover their eyes with their paws, as if to say, "Do not disturb, otter recharging in progress." It's this carefree, go-with-the-flow attitude that has made them symbols of relaxation and joy. And so, as we come full circle in our celebration of these remarkable creatures, let's return to that image of the hand-holding otters. In a world that can sometimes feel disconnected and chaotic, there's something deeply reassuring about these animals who instinctively understand the importance of staying connected, of holding on to each other through the night. They remind us that sometimes the simplest gestures, a held hand, a gentle touch, can be the most meaningful. So the next time you're feeling adrift, remember the sea otters. Remember how they found a way to navigate life's currents together, paw in paw. Remember their resilience, their playfulness, their dedication to both work and play. And perhaps most importantly, remember that somewhere out on the ocean right now, there's a raft of sea otters floating peacefully under the stars, their paws intertwined, anchoring each other through the night. Nature's ultimate reminder that we're all better when we stick together.